it's Mel, and today I'm doing the if you like this, you'll like this thing. Basically, I go like, if you like Harry Potter, you'll like the Mortal Instruments, and then talk about the similarities and the differences between the books. Loads of different people have done this with loads of different books, and of course all of these work in reverse order. Like, if you liked the last book, you'll like the first book. I just did the one I think people have most likely read before the one that they probably haven't. And I kind of have a lot of books that I want to talk about. And the first ones that I'm going to talk about are, if you like The Night Circus or All the Light We Cannot See, then you probably would like The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. The Night Circus is about the circus that travels around at night time and only opens after it gets dark, and there's loads of magic and strangeness, and it's just beautifully written. So if you've read either of these books and you haven't read that, then I highly recommend it. And then All the Light We Cannot See is about this French blind girl and this little German boy who both get roped into being in the same place at the same time during World War II. And it basically tells the story of both of their lives and how they intertwined and how the war affected them in very different ways. And The Shadow of the Wind is about this little boy who gets this book from the cemetery for forgotten books, and it's called The Shadow of the Wind, and he's intrigued by all this mystery that's surrounding the author, and there's some creepy stuff and it's very strange, and I'm currently reading it and have not finished it yet. So basically, if you like any of these books, you'll probably like the other ones, but it's more likely that you've either read All the Light We Cannot See or Night Circus, and if you have, you'd probably like The Shadow of the Wind. And these are all adult books, I'm pretty sure, even though they focus around children for the most part. The next one is, if you liked More Than This by Patrick Ness, then you'd probably either like Noggin by John Corey Whaley or Proxy by Alex London. More Than This is about this guy who drowns and then he wakes up in a street that he used to live on, and everything's weird, and he throws up a couple times, and it's beautifully written. If you haven't read anything by Patrick Ness, you should get on that. And then Noggin is about a boy who also dies and then comes back to life, but his story is his head is put on a different body so he can live again, and everything's 5 years later, and it's really weird. And then Proxy is a sci-fi dystopian book about a boy who is a proxy, and what a proxy is, they get punished for the bad things that the rich kids do, and you're like linked to one person, and basically the guy that he's the proxy of kills someone in a car crash. It's intense, and then he has to run away, and then he finds the boy, and then they run away together. I really liked all three of these books, and I think that if you read More Than This, which is kind of more likely, then you probably like either of the other ones. More Than This and Proxy both follow queer boy protagonists that both identify as gay, and these are basically the only two sci-fi books that have that. And then Noggin, his best friend's gay but doesn't want to tell anyone. So yeah, books about dead boys, books about gay boys trying not to die. So you kind of get how these three are linked, kind of obviously, but I did really enjoy all of these. The next one's kind of a less obvious link, and that is, if you like Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe, then you will probably like Ask the Passengers by A.S. King. If you've read both of these books, or just Ask the Passengers, then you would know that this protagonist is a philosophy student, and she does lots of philosophy, and the two main characters are named after philosophers but aren't actually anything to do with philosophy. But that's not the only link. It also deals with relationships and just contemporary angst and fluff, and the main characters finding themselves and having friendships, and I enjoyed both of these books immensely. Aristotle and Dante doesn't technically have like a plot, it's more like this boy's life for 2 years, from meeting this boy Dante to something that happens with Dante later, and it involves some deep stuff in it, and I wasn't like overly fond of it when I originally read it. And As the Passengers is kind of a lighter contemporary. The next three books people have probably already read, or if you've read the first one, then you've probably read the other ones, and that is, if you liked Harry Potter, I mean who doesn't, then you'll probably like Fangirl or Carry On, both by Rainbow Rowell, and they're kind of linked, but they're not a series. It's just Carry On is inside Fangirl. Basically, if you didn't know, I'm not going to talk about Harry Potter because I'd be concerned if you didn't know what Harry Potter was. Fangirl is about a girl called Kath who is a fangirl and basically writes fanfiction about this book series that is kind of basically Harry Potter but not, and it's called Simon Snow series, and her fanfiction is called Carry On, and it's the last book rewritten from like what she wants to happen, where the main character Simon and Baz, the kind of Draco Malfoy, if you will, end up together. And basically, if you were in the Harry Potter fandom and you liked Drarry, then if you haven't read this, then I'd be quite worried because it's kind of a big deal. I just had to include it because if you didn't know, at least read Fangirl, and if you enjoy Fangirl, then read Carry On. The next three are a bit the other way around to the ones that I've been doing, where basically if you like either of these two books, then you'll probably like the other one, and those are if you liked the Heroes of Olympus series or the Darkest Part of the Forest book by Holly Black, then you'd probably like The Raven Boys or the Raven Cycle series by Maggie Stiefvater. I basically love these all so much, and if you didn't know, Heroes of Olympus is the spin-off thing from Percy Jackson series. It's basically about Greek demigods and then Greek and Roman demigods and then eventually Norse demigods, but I haven't got to that yet. And Darkest Part of the Forest is just kind of a contemporary fae tale thing with lovable characters and some queer romance, and as well as the Heroes of Olympus kind of not really having that because, you know, Nico, but will maybe at some point. And then the Raven Boys is about this girl called Blue and some boys from the local private school, and Blue has been told since the age of 6 that when she falls in love, her true love will die if she kisses him or when she kisses him. And it's like, if you liked Percy Jackson Heroes of Olympus, the Raven Boys is kind of a more mature version of the same. Let's have a band of best friends who kind of have romances, and it's kind of intense. It also deals with like Welsh kings, and that would kind of link into ancient mythology. And if you like Holly Black books, then you probably like the Raven Cycle because they're kind of similar. And then the last two books that I have to talk about are, if you liked the Mortal Instruments series, then you'd probably like The Coldest Girl in Cold Town by Holly Black. Of course, most people that like Cassandra Clare know that Cassandra Clare and Holly Black are kind of like best friends, live on the same street. It's this whole thing. But basically, if you like Cassandra Clare books, then you'll like Holly Black books. And I really wanted to include The Coldest Girl in Cold Town because I'm like, if you like vampire books, then it's an amazing vampire books, but I don't actually own any vampire books. But the Mortal Instruments series does have vampires in, and if you like the vampire elements and you're not like totally grossed out by it, then The Coldest Girl in Cold Town is the way to go because it's amazing. I read it like ages ago and it's still so good. It's about this girl who wakes up in a bathtub and everyone at the party that she was with are dead, and then kind of runs away with a vampire and her ex-boyfriend, and it has this whole vampire history that's amazing. It's just great. Like, even if vampires aren't your thing, because I didn't think they were really my thing, it's just amazing because I love Holly Black's writing so much, and both of these authors are really good at including queer characters just within the narrative. And the Mortal Instruments series are about shadow hunters, which are basically half angel, half human warrior people that take down demons and warlocks and vampires when they're being naughty. So those were all of the books that I wanted to talk about in the If You Like This, You'll Like This thing. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope this kind of recommendation thing was useful because I loved all of these books so much, and it would be interesting to know what books you think are kind of linked to the books that I like. Hope you enjoyed. Bye!